Hey there boys and girls, and how are you all doing? Are you all ready for another lesson? Well, I want to welcome you only here on iTTV, and my name is Mr. Joel, your tutor for Mathematics Form 4. Welcome. Alright guys, today we are looking at lesson 10 of chapter 2, which is quadratic expressions and equations. Alright, and if you've been doing your practices alright for some time, you have arrived at the right place, because today is lesson 10 and it's the concluding lesson for chapter 2. Solving problems involving quadratic equations. In problem solving, follow the following steps. Let's look at an example to identify the steps. A rectangular field is such that the length is 4 meters longer than its breadth. Given that the area is 32 meters square, find the dimensions of the field. Alright guys, we are going to learn how to put the solution of a quadratic equation into practice depending on specific situations. As I've told you all many times, that we can apply this to many different situations which can be applied to our everyday lives. So now, let's look at this particular example and identify the steps that is needed. Alright, in first step, choose a suitable alphabet to represent an unknown. If the symbol is not given, let x meters be the breadth of the field. So now, we have a situation where we have a rectangular field, and they gave us the breadth and the length. Both are unknown. All we know that the length is 4 meters longer than the breadth. So first of all, choose a suitable alphabet, and it's always the case, alright? So let x represent the breadth of the field. In step 2, express the other unknown in terms of the first. Therefore, the length is x plus 4 meters. So guys, when you have two things, for example, the length and the breadth, always fix one of them to be x and the other has to be related. So if the breadth is x, and since the length is 4 meters longer than the breadth, this makes that the length of the field is x plus 4 meters. So the breadth is x meters and the length is x plus 4 meters. In step 3, form the quadratic equation in terms of the unknown based on the situation. And now, since we have already identified the breadth and the length, remember, one more useful tip to solve such problems is always drawing or sketching, alright, whatever it takes. In this case, a rectangle. Let's see how it looks like. Alright, now we have a rectangular field there, and since we identified the breadth as x meters, the length of the rectangle is x plus 4 meters, and the area of the whole rectangular field is 32 meters square. So in step 3, you are required to form a quadratic equation based on this specific situation. Remember, don't form any equation based on anything. It must be following a specific situation. So what is the situation known? We have the area of the rectangle, which is the length multiplied by the breadth. And since the area of the rectangle is 32, it will be x plus 4 multiplied by x. In step 4, make sure that the quadratic equation is written in the general form. So look at this equation. We have 32 equals to x squared plus 4x. Okay, switch them around. X squared plus 4x equals to 32. And in general form, x squared plus 4x minus 32 equals to 0. So make sure your quadratic equation is always in the general form. And that brings us to step 5. Factorize the quadratic equation. That is, express the quadratic equation as the product of its factors. Linear algebraic expressions. After factorizing, x plus 8 bracket x minus 4 equals to 0. In step 6, equate each factor to 0 x plus 8 equals to 0, x minus 4 equals to 0. In step 7, determine the values of the unknown. So now, x is not minus 8 and x equals to 4. So guys, now we have learned to apply what we have learned previously. Solving a quadratic equation by factorization using the 5 steps, remember that? But now since we are in a specific situation, once we have gotten the values of x in this case, which is minus 8 and 4, and since x represents the breadth of a rectangular field, x cannot be negative. So, in step 8, give the answers as required. Therefore, the length is 8 meters and its breadth is 4 meters. So guys, I want you to remember and recall these steps. It is actually the same as solving a quadratic equation. All you have to do, alright, in addition to that, is to make sure you understand the problem. Sketch out a diagram, alright, represent the unknown, and lastly, determine which of the values of x, alright, if deck 1 or not both, can be accepted as a solution for this specific situation. Alright, now, let's look at one exercise where I will guide you step by step how do we solve this problem. In this exercise, Ahmad rode his motorbike for a distance of 80 kilometers. For the first half of the journey, his speed is 10 kilometers per hour faster than the second half of the journey. The difference in time taken for both parts of the journey was 20 minutes. Show that the quadratic equation obtained is x squared plus 10x minus 1200 equals to 0. Hence, find the speed in kilometers per hour of the motorbike for the first part of the journey. Wow guys, this is a long problem, but don't worry, break it down step by step. Remember, it has to do with quadratic equations. Alright, now I'm going to bring you to the board and we're going to analyze this problem. Okay guys, so now Ahmad rode his motorbike. Alright, so we have to buy a motorbike for Ahmad. Alright, and we have to I just want to illustrate to you. I'll put the motorbike around here just for you to see. And remember now, when it comes to speed, there are two other units that are involved, which is the distance and the time. So we're going to look at them one by one, okay? So the distance of the journey. How long is the distance of this journey? From the question, it is given that the distance of Ahmad's journey is 80 kilometers, right? So let's say the journey starts from here. Alright, and it finishes here. Okay, and we draw a line to show the journey of Ahmad. Alright, and we note that from this question, Ahmad's journey is made up of two halves, right? Because for the first half of the journey, he traveled 10 kilometers per hour, faster than the second half. So, we divide its journey into two parts. Okay, so for the first half of the journey, it will be 40 kilometers. And for the second half of Ahmad's journey is also 40 kilometers. And note that Ahmad didn't use the same speed at all when he was traveling on his motorbike. He traveled faster for the first half and maybe he was tired, right? And he traveled slower for the second half. Now, how do we apply this to quadratic equations? How do we prove the quadratic equation that is wanted in the question? Alright, there are another two elements that we must identify that in relation to speed, okay, which is speed by itself. Alright, and one more thing very important is the time taken, yeah? So speed, time and distance are important units. And what is the relation that relates speed, distance and time? Well, you know the formula that we have learned before. It is speed equals to distance over time. Alright, now, how do you interpret the questions? You must first of all, first step, choose a suitable alphabet. Alright, so I will let x be the speed of Ahmad's journey in the second half. So I must write it down. speed of Ahmad's journey in the second half. Alright, now, so the speed of Ahmad's journey will be x, okay? So x will be here, Ahmad's journey, alright, for this half, look at this column. And now, because of the question, he travels 10 kilometers faster in the first half. So what does it make the speed of the first half of the journey in terms of x? If the speed of the second half is x kilometers per hour, the speed of the first half will be x plus 10 kilometers per hour. Now, we are trying to develop a quadratic equation, alright? And now, what is the time taken for the journey in the first half and the second half? Well, you don't know. But all they have told you is that the difference between the journeys of each half is 20 minutes. Alright, now let's look at the formula relating speed, distance and time. If speed equals to distance over time, time will be distance over speed. So, the time taken to travel in the first half is the distance, which is 40 kilometers, over the speed in terms of x, which is x plus 10. So Ahmad actually took 40 over x plus 10 hours to travel in the first half. Now, what about the time taken in the second half of the journey by Ahmad on his motorbike? Well, since time is distance over speed, in the second half, we can say that Ahmad took 40 distance over the speed, which is x hours. Alright, now, since we have got every quantity ready, we are going to try to form a quadratic equation. And how do we do that? Alright, remember the step? Based on specific situations and given information. All we are told here is that the difference between time taken by Ahmad for both his journey in both halves, the difference is 20 minutes. Means, since he's traveling slower in the second half, he would have taken more time here. So the difference in time, when we take the time in the second half minus the time in the first half, it should give you 20 minutes. And what is the time taken in the second half of the journey? It is 40 over x hours. Alright? And the difference between the time taken in the first half will be 40 over x plus 10. And what is the difference? 20 minutes. But guys, remember, do not put minutes 20 here. Why? Because since the speed given is in kilometers per hour, you have to convert minutes to hour. So to change 20 minutes to hours, take 20 divide by 60, which is 1/3. Alright, okay, now we have already got something here which we now need to equate and simplify. So now the difference between the time is 1/3 hours, which is 20 minutes. Now how do we simplify the right and the left hand side? Equate both denominators. Okay, so common denominators will be x plus 10. What do we get here? X divided by x, you will get 40 times x plus 10 minus divide x 40x, and it gives you 1/3. Alright, now let's open the bracket and simplify it. 40 over x plus 400 minus 40x over x squared plus 10x gives you 1/3. Alright, and if you look carefully, we can simplify because 40x minus 40x is missing. Alright, now let's move on here. Let's cross multiply. X squared plus 10 times 1 gives you x squared plus 10x. And 3 multiplied by 400 gives you 1200. 200. Alright, look, you are almost getting the quadratic equation. Change it to general form. So bring the 1200 over to the left hand side, and we have managed to obtain the quadratic equation that has been used. Alright, so now this is the quadratic equation that we can form based on this situation. But now let's move on further. Hence, find the time and the speed taken by Ahmad, alright, in the first half of the journey. So we have to solve this quadratic equation, alright, by using the cross method. Alright, remember the cross method? Factorize into two parts. Okay, the journey of Ahmad. So 1200 can be factorized to 40 multiplied by 30, and when you put both signs together, you should get the factorized quadratic equation. So this makes x as two values. It can be negative 40 or x is 30. But now we are applying. Yes, these two values are roots of the quadratic equation. But remember, when you apply to a certain condition, x sometimes cannot be negative. Because if you look back at x, what does it represent? It represents the speed of Ahmad's journey in the second half. How can the speed be negative? Alright, so this part of the solution is not part of it. So the only solution that we can get is x equals to 30, because speed can only be positive. Alright, now, so if x equals to 30, let's answer the question. What is the speed of Ahmad? And let's look back here. The speed of Ahmad is x plus 10 in the first half. Therefore, Ahmad's speed will be 30 plus 10, 40 kilometers per hour. That means that Ahmad was traveling at a speed of 40 kilometers per hour in the first half of the journey and 30 kilometers per hour in the second half of the journey. Alright guys, now let's look at another example where we apply quadratic equations in terms of problem solving. Alright, now let's look here in number 2. A right circular cylinder has a fixed height of 1.5 centimeters. The base area is more than the curved surface area by 88/7 centimeters square. Find the radius of the cylinder. Take pi as 22/7. Alright, I hope you get a picture of this problem here. Alright, all we have is a right circular cylinder. Alright, and remember, given information, take note of them one by one. See how can you use quadratic equations to solve it, which is to find the radius of the cylinder. Alright, now let's proceed to the board to answer this question. Alright guys, in order to solve problems like this, it is very crucial to remember that the most important thing is you must sketch a diagram. Alright, since the object given here is a right circular cylinder, I have sketched the right circular cylinder and I will put it here. Alright, what is the information obtained from the question? The height of this cylinder is fixed and it is 1.5 centimeters. So you can just state that the height of this cylinder is 1.5 centimeters. Alright, look at the next statement carefully because that is where you will get your information. The base area is more than the curved surface area by 88/7 centimeters square. Alright, think and interpret it carefully. What is the base area of a cylinder? What shape is it? It's a circle, right? So what is the area of a circle? Pi r square. This means that when we take pi r square, which is the area of the base of this cylinder, alright, and the difference with, so difference is minus, the area of the curved surface. Where is the curved surface in your cylinder? The curved surface is everywhere around that cylinder apart from the top and the base. So what is the formula for that? 2 pi r h. Okay, 2 pi r height. So this is the area of the base, which is in a circle, and this is the area of curved surface, okay, which is given in the diagram. And the difference between both of these areas is 88 over 7 centimeters square. So 88 over 7. So always form a concrete equation based on the specific situation. Now, what can we know here? Look at the height. The height is 1.5. It can be replaced inside. So we have to complete the equation. So pi r square minus 2 pi r, and h is 1.5. Alright, equals to 88 over 7. Alright, now what is the value of pi? Remember, it is given 22 over 7. So we replace it with 22 over 7 for all values of pi. And now, how can we make this equation simpler? Because it looks very complicated, right? Every term can be multiplied by 7 to get rid of the 3 denominators, which are all 7. So multiply all at once with 7, you will get 22r square minus 44 bracket 1.5 r equals to 88. Alright, you're almost there. Simplify and take your time. Alright, this multiplied gives you 66. Alright, equals to 88. Change it into general form. So now we have got a quadratic equation in terms of r. You have to simplify it. Since all of them are multiples of 22, all can be divided by 22. So 20r square minus 3r minus 4 equals to 0. And remember always, what is r? R is the radius of this cylinder. Can we factorize this? Yes. Using the cross method, you are able to factorize this quadratic equation in terms of r into the two linear algebraic expressions, which are r minus 4 and r plus 1. So now there are two values of r here, which are 4 and negative 1. So these are the roots of this quadratic equation. But remember guys, it's this situation where r that is negative can be accepted. Let's look back. R represents the radius of this cylinder. So a radius cannot be a negative measurement. So negative 1 is not accepted. So the radius is 4 cm only, because the radius must be positive. Alright? So we have looked at actually two problems where it involves the use of quadratic equations to find the radius, and earlier on the speed. Alright, now I want you to take at another problem and I want you to solve it yourself. And that brings us to our quick test segment for the day. Alright, now Mary's age is double that of her younger brother. In 3 years' time, the product of their ages is 104. Determine the age of Mary. Alright guys, I'll leave you some time now. We'll come back shortly to discuss it. Alright guys, I'm sure you have your answers right with you. Let's go through the solution together. Alright, remember, let Mary's age be x. Then her younger brother is x over 2. In 3 years' time, Mary and her brother ages will be x plus 3 and x over 2 plus 3 respectively. So in this case, remember, define x. It is the age of Mary. And since her brother is half her age, it is x over 2. And now in 3 years' time, they will be 3 years older. So Mary's age will be x plus 3 and her brother's age will be x over 2 plus 3. Now, continue with the steps. Therefore, the product of x plus 3 and x over 2 plus 3 equals to 104. Expand the equation. X squared over 2 plus 3x over 2 plus 9 equals to 104. Shift it to general form. X squared over 2 plus 9x over 2 plus 9 minus 104 equals to 0. And x squared over 2 plus 9x over 2 plus 95 equals to 0. Get rid of the denominator 2. Multiply everything with 2. You will get x squared plus 9x minus 190 equals to 0. Factorize. X plus 19, x minus 10 equals to 0. Equate each factor with 0. X plus 19 equals to 0 and x minus 10 equals to 0. And equate both values. X is negative 19 over 4 and 10. But because h is only a positive reading, you have to discard the negative value. Therefore, x is 10 and Mary is 10 years old. I hope you got that right. Okay guys, let's recap what we have learned today. Alright, in lesson 10 today of chapter 2, we have actually solved problems involving quadratic equations. So everything that you have learned prior to this lesson must be applied effectively, and it includes general form of a quadratic equation, factorizing the quadratic equation, and determining the roots of a quadratic equation. So when you are given a problem, just remember the few simple steps. Alright, you have to sketch a diagram, represent the alphabet, and use the given information to form the quadratic equation which you need to solve. Remember, understanding the question is key. So guys, I thank you very much for looking at the show, and I hope that you really enjoyed today's lesson and have learned something. Remember guys, practice makes perfect. I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you, and it's goodbye for now.